Ben, and this is my good friend, and today we are going to go through the pelvis. Alright. So the pelvis is made of how many bones?
3 bones.
And the bone at the top?
It's called the ilium.
The bone at the bottom?
Ischium.
And the bone in the front?
Pubic.
Good. So now we know our 3 bones, and they all meet in the center of the
Acetabulum.
Good. And the acetabulum is on what aspect of the bone?
The lateral.
Okay, so we know it's on the outside. Why is the acetabulum lateral?
Because the femur is articulated to the acetabulum.
Good. So the femur articulates with the acetabulum, and if it was medial, it would mean your leg would dangle in between here. So it's lateral. So as soon as we pick up the pelvis, we know lateral acetabulum. Then, how do we know which way is up and which way is down?
Ilium is always on top.
Good. The ilium, the top bone, is superior, and
Ischium is inferior.
ischium is inferior, and then the
Pubic is anterior.
good. Pubic bone is anterior, because where do we find our pubes?
In the front.
In the front. Good. So now we've got which way is medial, lateral, what's superior, what's inferior, what way is anterior and posterior. So now let's load on the landmarks of each of the bones. So let's start with the pubic bone. So the pubic bone has a body, which is the main chunk. So that's through and up here. And then a body leads on to a ramus. So what's a ramus?
It is a bridge.
Good, a bridge or a connecting bone. So if I was the pubic bone, then this would be
The pubic body.
and then this would be the
Ramus.
pubic ramus. Good.
Ramus.
But when we're looking, how many rami does the pubic bone have?
2.
Good. So we've got a ramus here and a ramus here. So what would we call this one?
Superior pubic ramus.
And then this one?
Inferior pubic ramus.
Good. So here we have them here, our superior pubic ramus and our inferior pubic ramus. Then there's a little bump on the top of the pubic bone. So what are we going to call that?
A tubercle.
Good. So that would be our pubic tubercle. Alright, gorgeous. So that is our pubic bone, which is anterior. Then if we go posterior, what's the name of the whole bone posteriorly?
Ischium.
Good. And on the posterior bone, the ischium, we've got this big bump. So what's a big bump?
A tuberosity.
Good. So this is our
Ischial tuberosity.
and then we've got a connecting bone coming up here. What should we call him?
A ramus.
Good. And it's connecting to the
Ischium.
so therefore we call this our
Ischial ramus.
boom. Okay. Looking posteriorly, we've got a bump of the outbit. What should we call that bump of the outbit?
A spine.
Good. And what bone is it on?
The ischium.
So it's the
Ischial spine.
awesome. Then we got these 2 chunks taken out of the bone.
Yeah.
So what is it when we take a chunk out?
A notch.
And we got a big one, so
Would be a greater.
and then the little one.
A lesser.
So now it runs down the posterior aspect. So what's the name of the big nerve running down the back of our thigh?
Sciatic.
So then let's call the big one the,
Greater sciatic notch.
and then the little one,
Lesser sciatic notch.
awesome. Okay, then we've got this big hole. So what's a hole called in anatomy?
Foramen.
Awesome. Then there's a muscle that runs around there, and it's called the obturator.
Yeah. Obturator.
So then the name of this foramen is the
Obturator foramen.
awesome. Okay, so now we've crept up the posterior aspect, which leads us to the top bone, which is
The ilium.
okay. If I was to go over the top of a hill, I would go over the
Crest of the hill.
So therefore, let's call this
the iliac crest.
boom. Now, if we're looking this way, so this is the medial aspect or the lateral aspect, we see these bumps, and we have 4 bumps. So what do we call these bumps?
Spines.
And 2 of them are
Superior.
2 of them are
Inferior.
2 of them are
Anterior.
and 2 of them are.
Posterior.
So when we're labeling these, we're going to label where they sit on the what bone?
Ilium.
Okay. So my pubic bone is anterior, so let's start here. So this one would be the
Superior. Anterior. Superior iliac spine.
then below it,
Interior. Inferior iliac spine.
and then posteriorly,
Posterior. Superior iliac spine.
and then underneath that.
Is the posterior inferior iliac spine.
Good. Okay, so we got those 4 spines, and then we've also got a spine down here. What was that one?
That was the iliac, no, ischial spine.
Good, because it's on the ischial bone. All right, what have we got left? So looking medially, looking this way, like if I was a baby and looking into my mum's pelvis, I see this bit here, and it looks like the shape of a taringa. So, what do we do with our ears?
Listen to audio.
We listen to audio. So this is our auricular.
Auricular.
So this is our auricular surface
Auricular.
because it's shaped like a
Taringa.
awesome. Okay, we're still looking medially, and we got the scooped out flat bit. So what's a scooped out flat bit?
Fossa.
And what bone is it on?
The ilium.
So let's call it the.
Iliac fossa.
Okay, we're still looking medially. If we look this way, it's got a curve. Another name for a curve is a arc. So let's call this the
Articulate.
arc. Oh, just arc.
Articulate.
Good. Arcuate.
Arcuate.
The arcuate line. Like arc, U, and then 8.
Arcuate line.
Arcuate line. Good. All right. Now, we can see the
Acetabulum.
so that means it must be
Lateral.
good. And on the lateral aspect, we find 3 lines, one running here, here, and here. So what do we have sitting on the ilium? Glutes. Nice. And we've got 3 of these lines. One's forward. So forward must be
Anterior.
gluteal line. Then one back. So
Posterior gluteal line.
and then one running just above the acetabulum.
Inferior gluteal line.
All right. And I think...
Done and dusted, mate.
Woo!